All right, and with that being said, it's our favorite time here to talk about our final 53-man roster predictions just before cut down day, or a couple days before cut down day officially, which I think is Tuesday. Tuesday night will be when the roster comes out, if I'm not mistaken. And I think we're just going to get right into it. These are our 53 guys. Alex will rotate back and forth with who we're talking about and maybe get some descriptions on them as well if they're needed. But I don't think this is needed at all. We have two quarterbacks that we're running with for the Giants, Daniel Jones and Tyrod Taylor. And we got the Syracuse kid. Oh my gosh, I already forgot his name. Tommy DeVito, also from basically close to our hometown. I think he's from Cedar Grove, New Jersey, right? Which is right by us. So
him and Aaron Rodgers are neighbors.
There you go. Yeah, so we have him making the practice squad, and he'll be like that third QB there. I don't think anything crazy happens. So that's our quarterback situation. Then our running backs, and Alex, then you can hop in. Saquon Barkley, Matt Breida, Eric Gray, and Jashawn Corbin. That means no Gary Brightwell making the roster. The reason I chose this, and Alex, you can give your reason of why you chose it as well. We saw Jashawn Corbin a lot in the preseason, and we saw Gary Brightwell a lot. However, to me, Corbin got the most amount of carries, and Corbin was able to make the most amount of opportunities for himself the most amount of opportunities for himself in the amount of game time given to him, if that makes any sense. More yards and just better plays overall. And that's why I chose that he should make the roster. And Alex, I don't know what you want to talk about, but go ahead.
Yeah, I think Corbin was kind of an under the radar performer throughout, especially considering the struggles this O-line, this backup O-line had throughout preseason. Thought he looked pretty solid in camp in the days we were there during some of those drills. So overall, I think he's kind of a sneaky dark horse name to make the roster. Personally, I'd say it's probably like 55-45 he doesn't make the roster, but as a dark horse candidate for our final prediction, I really like having him in there and, hope he makes the roster because I think that would be a nice addition. A very shifty guy, someone we saw who can catch out of the backfield, especially in preseason. So I think he'd be a nice player to have on the roster. And if he doesn't make our roster, I think he'll get picked up by someone else would be my best guess. And then moving on to the wide receiver position, we got 7. Paris Campbell, Darius Slayton, Isaiah Hodgins, Jalen Hyatt, Sterling Shepard, Cole Beasley, and then we have Wan'Dale Robinson, of course, pending that PUP activation, which it sounds like he might be activated. Good chance he's activated. So we have him on the list here. And those are 7 receivers. No Jamison Crowder, no Pimpleton, no David Sills. But I think that's a pretty solid list of 7 receivers there for the Giants.
Something that we haven't seen the past couple of years, at least last year, was a big struggle at the wide receiver position for the Giants. Left Daniel Jones kind of useless to himself, which he did very well doing. He found some receivers there, and he also found that his legs can do a lot more than what we've seen in previous seasons. I mean, his rookie year too, but he did some pretty sensational things with his legs. Luckily, he hopefully won't have to do it as much this year because he has weapons like this guy, Darren Waller, who starts our tight end list at number 1, then Daniel Bellinger, then Lawrence Cager. We think 3 tight ends make the roster here. Who is the other? Who is it? Ryan Johnson is the guy that wouldn't make the cut.
Ryan Jones, Sweeney. Well, Sweeney, we don't know what his injury situation is, so I highly
Sweeney, Alex. Is he making the roster?
He would have if it wasn't for the injury, Josh. He would have.
Big Tommy Sweeney believer. We know this. And then offensive line, Alex, I'll let you break it down. I'll read it off, and you can break it down if you have anything to say about that. Andrew Thomas, Evan Neal, Tyree Phillips, Ben Bredesen, Mark Lewinsky, Shane Lemieux, Josh Azudu, John Michael Schmitz, and Matt Parrott. Funny enough, Matt Parrott has been playing so well, or at least did in training camp. We didn't even have him making the roster. I looked back, Alex. He wasn't making the roster in our preseason. No, in our 53-man roster prediction before training camp began. So I thought that was very funny, especially because of how well he played there. And with that being said, that means no Marcus McKeithen, Jack Anderson, Corey Cunningham, who got cut already, and Wyatt Davis.
Matt Parrott was terrible in the Jets game, though. I will say he was quite awful. But yeah, throughout the rest of the camp, he was very good. So I think that carries him onto the roster.
The Jets had 5 sacks. How many of them were his fault? Like maybe 2 of them?
Yeah. I mean, that's still not a good game, though, Josh.
No. I'm saying maybe 2 of them in like a bad way. I'm not saying in like, oh, it was only 2. No, I'm saying like maybe 2 of them out of the 5 were his fault.
Yeah, he was not great. I'm not going to talk about the obvious ones, but Tyree Phillips, I think, gets his way onto the roster with his guard flexibility. We saw him play guard a little bit in camp, a little bit in preseason. So I think that gets him on the roster. Shane Lemieux as a center option. gets on the roster, and I think the rest are pretty self-explanatory. Marcus McKeithen, I think, is going to be a good name going into next training camp as someone who 2 years off the ACL, probably off a year on the practice squad now, could make an impact going forward. The Giants really liked him in the draft last year, so I think he could be someone to watch out for. Moving to the defensive line, we got 5 guys: Dexter Lawrence, Leonard Williams, Ashawn Robinson, Nacho, and Jordan Riley. No Ryder Anderson, DJ Davidson, or Kobe Smith, and a lot of cut downs for those guys that we talked about a little bit earlier. But yeah, this is a solid group, and I think they'll be probably the strongest group on our team if you look at just the whole unit as a whole, with 4 pretty much NFL starters at this point, and then Jordan Riley, who's a very, very promising rookie out of Oregon in this year's past draft. So all good on the D line.
I'll do linebacker group, Alex. You do defensive back group. We got the edge, 5 of those guys making the roster: Kayvon Thibodeau, Azeez Ojulari, Jihad Ward, Tomon Fox, and O'Shane Zimenez. That means no Habakkuk Baldonado. And then the inside linebacker position, 5 guys making it there as well: Bobby Okereke, Micah McFadden, and a name that we did not have that we are very happy to have now in that inside linebacker group, Isaiah Simmons. What a steal and what an ad for the New York Giants. Darian Beavers and Carter Coughlin, meaning no Cam Brown. Alex and I had a little bit pre-show discussion about the Coughlin roster. That was a me pick. The reason I picked that was because he's been on every special teams play, and I think the only reason he does make the roster is for his special teams help and nothing else, unless we really need him because some of our inside linebackers get injured during the season. I pray that doesn't happen because I'd rather just have Carter Coughlin stay on special teams. No offense to him. But Alex, yeah, I do want to. Oh, he wants.
I think Cam Brown's a good. I think Cam Brown is a good shout as well, because he was a Pro Bowler for special teams under Joe Judge. If you remember that, he was one of the special teams.
That was years ago, so, but
yeah. You know what? That doesn't change. Once you're a special teams Pro Bowler, you're always a special teams Pro Bowler. All right.
That could mean in your Pro Football Reference and something you can say in 20 years, and that's still on your wall. But that doesn't mean that you're making the roster in 2023. It's 2 very different things.
All I would say is keep an eye out for him. I wouldn't be surprised if he made the roster. Literally, all
I wouldn't
I'm
either.
Say. Yeah,
I wouldn't either. But I will say I got really excited on the Pat McAfee show when the Simmons move was made. He was talking about it, and he really was hyping it up, and I was really excited about that. That was really all I had to say. Oh, I'm trying to think though. He had a coach. He has a coach Pagano, Chuck Pagano, I think, goes on that show, and he used to coach with Wink Martindale back in the day. I think when Martindale was like I think he used to be on the Raiders before he was even on the Ravens. Maybe if I might be mistaken, but he was talking about how Wink will be using him in blitz schemes and things like that. And it was just really exciting stuff. And just, I don't want to use the word unbelievable. That might be too big of a term, but just like great how we traded a 7th rounder. Or as Pat McAfee put it, a bag of balls for Isaiah Simmons. Anyway, Alex, you can go on to defensive back.
All right, starting at corner, we got 6 of them: Adoree Jackson, Deontay Banks, Amani Oruwariye, Cordell Flott, Darnay Holmes, and Trey Hawkins. Trey Hawkins, obviously a camp standout. Darnay Holmes, we have just squeaking onto the roster. Amani Oruwariye, definitely didn't have the best camp, but as a bigger corner option for depth, I think he makes the roster. No Zion Gilbert, no Jamon Green. Shout out to Jamon Green, though. Hope he makes the roster. Retweeted a couple of our stuff, so we'll always like him. And then safeties, we got 4 of them: Xavier McKinney, Dane Belton, Nick McLeod, and Jason Pinnock. No Alex Cook, no Bobby McCain, no Gervarius Owens. Gervarius Owens, another one who I think could make the roster. Hot take there for me. Not for others. I know a lot of people do have him actually just making the roster. I'm confident he will. So we'll have to wait and see. But I'm gonna go and jump the gun here, Josh. I want the best group in all of football. I want the special teams group. I want the 3 special teamers. First one, Graham Gano. No one saw this coming. As our kicker, Jamie Gillen as the punter. And this is where it gets really dramatic, Josh. We've been watching the long snapping competition all camp, all preseason. Cam Lyons, Casey Kreider, the showdown of a lifetime. It's like you people talk about these quarterback battles on NFL Network. I keep seeing about Kyle Trask and Baker Mayfield and what's the other guy, Desmond Ridder, and whoever the other quarterback is on the Falcons. all these quarterback. Who cares? We've got a long snapper battle. I don't see any other team in the league with a long snapper battle as intense as this one.
Excuse me.
And yeah,
you forgot a quarterback comparison.
which one?
Trey Lance and Dak Prescott, man. What's going on? What are our Dallas Cowboys doing trading for Trey Lance here? You don't have respect and trust in your franchise quarterback that you're paying millions and millions of dollars and giving him that huge contract, and you're trading for a backup. It's a little scary there. Jerry Jones is shaking. He's shaking. He knows he's playing the Giants in a couple Sundays from now. He doesn't know what to do with himself. He's like, boy, oh boy, we got to trade for a backup quarterback when the Giants defense comes at us. And Dak throws 3 interceptions. Sorry, I had to. Anytime you can roast the Cowboys, you have to do it.
And now this has built up the suspense. You're wondering who is going to be the New York Giants long snapper. And the answer is Casey Kreider. He will beat out rookie Cam Lyons. Cam Lyons will land somewhere else and be a Hall of Fame long snapper. I can't even say the position. And but all jokes aside, I'm sure they'll both end up on teams. But I think Casey Kreider, with his experience, will end up on the roster. I think this is the longest we've ever talked about a special team segment of a 53-man roster in Giants history. So
the longest time that you have talked about a special team segment.
Anybody. No one's talked about it this long, let's be honest.
Cam Lyons practice team, practice squad train. Anyone riding it? Anyone? Still waiting at the station? No? Okay, no one at the station.
Why is the train delayed?
So many people are getting on. That's why. They're not going to make it to the next stop in time. Anyway, that is going to do it for our New York Giants 22. We don't have to do the whole thing again, right? Or we're going to – no, we don't need to read it.
No, we read 53 names. If you missed one, you can rewind.
You can rewind. Yeah, you can go back. But that is going to do it for our final 53-man roster predictions. We'll have to see in a few days how it shapes up and if it's very similar to ours or not.